Welcome to the 20th session on operating system and Linux. I'm Manibhushan D'Souza, and today we are going to talk about deadlocks. In this session, we are going to discuss about the system model for deadlocks, and we will also understand the deadlock characterization. Now we know very well a computer system will consist of a finite number of resources. These resources could be the RAM, it could be the disk, it could be the printer, or it could be any other device that we are thinking of. So there will be a finite number of these resources. However, there will be many processors in a multi-programming environment that will compete for these resources. Now, there are two types of resources which we can distinguish between them. One is the physical resource, and the other one is the logical resource. The physical resources could be the printer, the tape drive, the memory, and CPU, and so on and so forth. The logical resources could be the semaphore and the monitors. Now, each resource can have identical instances. For example, you can have a printer which are same, two different printers connected to the system. So these are called as a resource type. So they look same and they behave in the same way. So if you didn't get the analogy, you have 10 rupees note and I too have the 10 rupees note. What's the difference between yours and my note? They are the same. So either I can give the 10 rupees or you can give the 10 rupees. The face value remains same. So there is no distinction between the 10 rupees note that you have and I have. Now suppose you have a color printer which can print things in color, and I have a monochrome, that is only the black and white printer. There is a difference. Now if somebody comes and asks me, I want a color printer, I want my photograph to be printed in color, I can't print that in my printer because it is a black and white printer. Hope you get the idea. So what is the meaning of saying resource type is same type of resources are available which have the similar properties. So if you have two dot matrix printer which are same, so 136 column or 132 column or printer, both are same, identical, connected to your computer, then whether you use the first one or whether you use the second one, they don't make any difference. So that is what is called as resource type. So we don't say there is a printer, there is a type of printers which are available. So you take one among them. So we have say somebody may say that I have a dot matrix printer, I have a laser printer. Now how many printers are there? That's a different thing. So when I say dot matrix type, that means there is more than one dot matrix printer is available. Which printer is given, it doesn't matter. So when you go to the mobile shop, you say I want one mobile, one of the mobile is given to you. So you don't say I want this. The model, if the model is same, whether this mobile is given or whether the other mobile is given, it doesn't make much difference because it is the same model mobile. So in the same way, but however, if you buy a different model mobile, then they are different. So resource type means similar type which are identical. Okay, when a request is made, one of the instances is given, so operating system will not distinguish among them. Suppose if there are four printers connected, all the four are identical printers, let's say all of them are laser printer, one of the printer is given, so it will not make a distinction between the first printer, second printer, or whatever. When the request comes, whichever is free, it is taken and given. Okay, now let's look at the other one. So a process, if at all it wants to use the resource, the first thing it must do is it must request for the resource. Okay, first it will request for the resource, and it's once the resource is given to it, it's going to use that resource, and finally after using the resource, it's going to release that resource. So the cycle is you make a request, you get the resource, use it, then release the resource. Okay, when we think of the process, remember process doesn't mean that process will make only one request at a time. The process may request more than one resource simultaneously at a single time. So process may say that I want RAM, I want a hard disk, I want a printer, and so on and so forth. So everything it may give, the request may give in one shot. Or the process may say that I want two files from the disk to be accessed. So at the time it is asking for the two instances. The files may be same or the files may be different. Okay. In all the cases, okay, when the request is made, if the request cannot be granted, then the process will wait. So first thing. The next very important thing, so the process says I want to write into the printer. If the printer is already given to some other process, the operating system says, assume that there is only one printer, and the process makes a request to the operating system, asking the operating system, I want that printer. The operating system will then say that that printer is not available. You wait, that once the printer is free, I'm going to give it back to you. However, very important thing that you must understand that a process cannot make a request for a resource which is not existing. For example, if there is only one printer connected to the machine, the process cannot say that I want to use 5 printer at a time. Then the operating system say it's not possible. I don't have, in total I don't have 5 printers. I have only one printer. So the requested number of resource cannot exceed the total number of resources which are available on the system. Now let's look at the normal mode of operation. So the normal mode of operation is very simple. A process makes a request. If the request is not immediately granted, then the process, the reason for that maybe the request may be given out for somebody else is using that request. In that case, the process, whichever process has made the request, has to wait until the request is available. So if your process says I want to read from the file, and if the file is already used by somebody for updating, the operating system says that file is being used by somebody else, you wait. Once a file is available, I'm going to give it to you. So your process has to wait. The second one is, once the resource is given to you, you can use it. So there is nothing that prevents you from using. Suppose if the printer is given, you can start your process. When I say your process can print it. But once the work is over, the process has to release the resource back to the operating system so that the operating system can allocate it to the others. So this is how it goes. For example, if you want to make use of any device, for example the printer or the hard disk or the tape drive or anything, you make a request for the device. If the device is available, you use it and then finally release it. Suppose if you want to make use of a file, then request for the file. If the file is available, open the file, start doing anything with the file, and finally close the file. Suppose if you want to use the memory, first one, go for the allocation of the memory, get the allocation, use it, and finally free the allocation to the operating system. Now this system will maintain a table called as a system table of record, in which it maintains how many resources are there and what is the state of each resources. Suppose if the resource is free, it's going to mark it as free. If the resource is allocated, it's going to say to whom this resource has been allocated. Suppose when a request comes to the operating system, and if the resource is in use, then the operating system will put it in the queue of that particular device for or that particular resource for that matter. So for example, if you say that I want to print into the printer and somebody else is already printing, then your process will be in the printer queue. So there will be a printer queue, you will be in the queue. So in front of you, many might have given the print request. In that case, their print will be printed first and then your printing will start. Okay. As I told you, whenever there is a request for any resource, more than one process may start requesting for the resource, and when such a thing happens, the others have to wait, so that they are in the wait process. Now let's look at a scenario wherein you have a computer wherein there is a printer and there is a disk. So let's assume that you have two processes. One I'm going to mark it in a red color, the other one I'm going to mark it in green color. Now let me say that this is the process P1. I'll just make it as P1, and the other process is P2. Now what happens is this P2 process, let's say it is using the disk, and P1 process is using the printer. So let's say both are using it. So there is no problem. Both of them are happy using it. Now suppose if the process P2 says that no, I have read from the disk, now I want to print to the printer. So when it makes a request, the operating system will say that printer is already being used by the P1. So you wait until the P1 finishes it. So P2 has to wait. Once the P1 finishes it, it can print. However, remember when the P2 is doing, it is not releasing the disk. It is still holding the disk. It says I want to read from the disk and then want to write to the printer. So P2 says I want the disk. Once I finish printing, I will release the disk to the others. Let the others use it. Now suppose say when P2 is waiting for the printer, if P1 goes to the operating system and says, no, I want to read from the disk. I too want to read from the disk. In that case, what is going to happen? So in this case, remember the operating system will say that, no, the disk is used by the P2. Let it release the disk, I will give you. So P2 says I want the printer and the operating system says P1 is using it. So I will give you later. P1 says is using the printer, but P1 says I want the disk. Now both of them are holding some resources. They are not ready to give up their resources. However, both of them want the resource that is used by the others. So look at the situation over here. One process is holding some resource and it is requesting for the resource that is held by the other process. The other process is holding some resource. It is not ready to give up, but it is expecting this process to release its resource. So both of them can't continue because P2 says I want printer. Once I get the printer, I will leave the disk. P1 says I want the disk. Once I get the disk, I will release the printer. So this situation is called as deadlock. So what is a deadlock? A deadlock is a situation wherein a group of processes, I have given you only two processes, wherein a group of processes may be permanently blocked as a result of each process having acquired a set of resources needed for their completion and having to wait for the release of the remaining resources held by the other. So each process is holding some set of resources which is required by it, but it is waiting for the others to release the remaining resources. Now, thus making it impossible for any of the process to continue. So we say that it is deadlocked. So in you have seen this in your traffic jam. So in the traffic jam, nobody moves front, nobody moves back. Everybody is expecting others to make their move. They are not ready to give any space to the others. So this is what happens. So in a deadlock, processes never going to finish their work because every process is not having some resource to complete. So it needs some resource. It is used by the others and the same situation goes. So they are not able to complete it, and what about the other? Because all the processes are stuck. The operating system is already stuck, already has enough number of processes, and the operating system can't start one more process because already full processes are being used. So it prevents any new process from starting, nor existing process from completing it. Now, when does the deadlock occurs? Now, in order for the deadlocks to occur, there are four conditions that are required. The first condition is the mutual exclusion. So what is the meaning of that? Is I told you that there are many processors. Every processor are holding some or other resources. The condition for that is at least one of the resource must be held in a non-shareable mode. So what is the meaning of that is there must be at least one process which cannot be shared among the two resources. For example, you have a printer. A printer cannot be shared among the two processes. Either one process uses it, or nobody uses it, or the other process uses it. Two of them, if they start printing simultaneously, nothing is going to come out. So there is a resource that cannot be shared among the processor. Okay. For example, if a printer is given to one process, the other process that is making the request has to wait. So this is called as mutual exclusion. When one is there, the other is not allowed to enter. So at least one process must be there. It is mutual exclusion. Remember, all the four conditions must be simultaneously hold good. If they are not simultaneously holding good, then there won't be any deadlock. So this is the first one. First one is the mutual exclusion. What is the second one? Second one is hold and wait. That means the process is holding at least one or more resources, at least one resource, and it is waiting to acquire the additional resources which are currently being used by the others. So it is holding one resource, at least one, it can hold more than one, and it is expecting others to release it. The first one is mutual exclusion. Second one is it is holding something and it is not able to release this resource, but it is expecting others to release it. That is a hold and wait. The third one is no preemption. That is the meaning of saying that once a resource is given to a process, it cannot be preempted. So operating system can't take it back. That process voluntarily has to give it back to the system. So this is called as hold and wait. Now you may say that which is that process. Suppose if you are writing onto the disk, so if, I don't know whether you're doing it now today, maybe you may be knowing that you have this disk that is your CDs or DVDs. You can write onto the CDs or DVDs, but only one of the process has to write, because if the two processes are writing, the disk has to be thrown out. If you are using Nero or any other software to writing on it, only that process will access the disk. Others should not be allowed to access the disk, because if they ask, if the request is satisfied, then the software that is writing, the application that is writing, will lose track of the place where it was writing, because if the head starts moving, then it is all over, then disk has to be thrown out. So when you are if the operating system gives the DVD writer to one process, and it says okay, you start writing it, the operating system cannot stop in between and say that okay, you stop for 5 minutes, let the other disk other application use it. It is not possible. So only operating system can voluntarily give it back. Next one is the circular wait. Circular wait is a situation wherein one process is waiting for the other is waiting for the next one is waiting for next one, and so on, and finally the last one is waiting for the first one. So this is how it goes. So just to give you an analogy over here, so you have the first let's say you have a resource here. So you have one process waiting for the other one. Okay, other one is waiting for the one process, and the other one is waiting. So you notice that this is a circular wait. One is waiting for the other is waiting for the next one is waiting for the first one. So this kind of thing, in other words, so if P1 is waiting for P2, P2 is waiting for P3, P3 is waiting for P4, and Pn minus 1 is waiting for Pn, and Pn is waiting for the P1. In that case, it is called as circular wait. Remember, all these four conditions must be satisfied in order for the deadlock to occur. Okay, how do we know that the deadlock has occurred? Now we know all the processes are running, we can't go and check into the memory and do that. So you know very well, picture is worth of 1,000 words. So A deadlock can be easily described or precisely described using a directed graph. Okay, so this is called as system resource allocation graph. We commonly called as a resource allocation graph. Now you know very well when I say graph, a graph contains set of vertices and set of edges. So that is what is a graph. And what is a directed graph? There is a direction for every edge. That is why it is called as a directed graph. So again, you have studied about data structure, so you are familiar with that point. So let's assume that we have set of v vertices. Now these set of vertices could be in your data structure. We are not distinguishing between the vertices, but the vertices could be either a process or a resource. So either active process or a resource. So there are two types of vertices are there. The vertices of the graphs could be either they are processor or they are the resources which are available on the system, and these are connected by a directed edge. So suppose if you have a request that is made from the process P1 to the resource R, from P to R, then there will be a directed edge from P to R. So if you have a process which is making a request for a resource, then there will be a directed graph. What is the significance of that? Process is making a request for the resource. Suppose your process is making a request for a printer, then you draw a graph from your process to the printer resource, and the meaning of that is your process is requesting for the resource. Remember, first thing is polite way of doing it, you make a request, then use it, and then release it. Suppose if you find a graph in which there is a directed edge from the resource to the process. In the first case, from the process to the resource. If you find an edge from the resource, remember it's a directed graph. From the resource, if you get a graph edge to the process, then we say that this resource has been given. So let me show you in a simple way. So let's assume that you have a process P and you have a resource R, let's say R, okay, and you have a edge between them. So what is the meaning? Process P has requested for the resource. So this is a request. Okay, this is called as a request edge. Now suppose, let's come back to the other situation. Now you have a process P and you also have a resource, not this one, you also have a resource R, same, but this time the edge is other way around. So from R to P, what is the meaning of it is P is making use of the resource R. In other words, the resource R is already assigned. So in the initial state, P was making the request. So here, in this case, P is making a request for R. In this case, R has been assigned to P. So you have a request edge, you have a assignment edge. There will be two types of edges are there. Okay. So how do I represent the edges? So there are two types of edge. The vertices are there, I told you. So one is the process, the other one is a resource. It will be confusing if you draw a dot. Usually how do you draw a graph? You usually draw a graph using the edge like this, a circle like this, a circle like this, and a circle like this, and you connect them. If it is a directed, you draw a arrow. Now this is going, it's not going to work here because there are two types of edges are there. One is the process. There is a type of edges called as process. There is the other type of edges called as the resources. To distinguish between them, processes are represented by circle and the resources are represented by square. Okay, now again, a resource may contain many instances. I told you that there can be same type of printers available. So every instance is represented by a dot, small dot inside the resource. Remember, resources are represented by square, and every instance, now there are four instances are there. If you find four dots inside of this square, that means there are four instances are there. So let's look at them. So a process is represented by a circle, resources are represented by a square. However, every instance is represented by dot. So what is the meaning of that? There are four instances. In other words, there are four printers, or there are four CD disk drives, there are four memory something. There are four instances which are of the same type available. So four will be there. If you draw one more circle, one more dot inside this, what does that mean? There are five. If one more, there are six, there are seven, and so on. So how many numbers are there? So many dots will come. So then let's look at the request and assignment. So in this case, the process P is making a request for the type of resources. So the process say that I want to use a printer. There are four printers are there. Whichever printer you have, it's okay to me. There are four printers are there. So in this case, this printer, the first printer, is given to the process. So that is the idea. So a request edge points only to the square, whereas assignment will point to the dot inside the square to the resources. Okay, when a process PJ makes a request to the resource of type A, the request edge is created. So this is how you are going to do. So initially, the process, let's say, makes a request to the resource. So there will be a edge like this. Once the request is granted, so you have this edge will be removed, and you have other type of arrow saying that this request has been granted. After the usage, this edge will be removed. So first you have from the process to the resource one edge, that's the request edge. Once the request is fulfilled, you have the assignment, and finally when the process completes its use, both the edges will be removed out. Okay, so now let's look at a situation wherein we have three processor P1, P2, P3, and four resources R1, R2, R3, and the edges given like this. So this is just an example. So we have here three processes are there, P1, P2, P3, and four resources are there, R1, R2, R3, R4. There is only one instance of R1. There are two instances of R2. There is only one instance of R3. There are four instances of R4. In the current scenario, none of them are making a request for R4. So nobody is making any request for the four resources which are available. So let's look at the situation. P1 is making a request to R1. So P1 is making a request for R1. However, R1 is already assigned to P2. So P2 has already taken up the R1. So R1 is already given to P2. Okay. Then let's look at the other scenario. P2 is making a request for R3. So P2 is making a request to R3. You can see over here. Next one, R1 is already assigned to P2. It's already, I have told you, R1 is already assigned to P2. Then P2, R2 is also assigned to P2. R2 is also assigned to P2. In the same way, R2 is also assigned to P1. Then if you look at here, you can get the numbers from here. I will not concentrate on that. So R3 is assigned to P3. So request resource 3 is already given to P3. Request the resource R1 is already given to P2. Resource R2, one instance of R2 is already given to P1. One instance of R2, there are two instances are there, is already given to P2. So this is how you represent that. Okay. Now this particular graph contains no cycle. Now remember, there is no cycle, very important thing. This is not a cycle. So you come from here, the arrow is there. You come from here, the arrow is there. You come from here, the arrow is there. You are not going to come from here to this direction, because this arrow is pointing from here to the other direction. Remember, don't assume that there is a cycle. There is no cycle. Okay, in this, even though you may see like a cycle, it is a directed graph. So if you look at here, you can go from here to here, here to here, here to here, but you cannot come back, because this is one way from here to this, not the other way around. Okay, oops, let me come back. Okay, now if the graph contains no cycle, that means there is no deadlock in the system, no process are run in the deadlock. However, if there is a cycle, in the previous case there is no cycle, so there is no deadlock. We can sure that P1, P2, P3 are not in deadlock. However, if there is a cycle, that does not mean that there is a deadlock. Very important thing. If there is a cycle in the graph, there may exist a deadlock. It is not sure deadlock. Very important thing. If there is a cycle, there may be a deadlock. It is not that there is a deadlock. There may be a chance of having a deadlock, but it is not always true that there is a deadlock. Now let's look at this same diagram again. Now let's go one step ahead. Now what if P3 is making a request for R2? Now is there a cycle? The answer is there is a cycle. Now look at this one. So from R2, if you go, so let me start from P1. P1 is making a request to R1. R1 is already assigned to P2. P2 is making a request to R3. It is not satisfied. R3 is already assigned to P2. P3. P3 is making a request to R2. R2 is already assigned to either P1 or P2. So you have one cycle like this. You have the other cycle from here going to this one and coming back. So there are two cycles are available. Okay, two cycles are available. So does this mean that there is a deadlock? It is not. It doesn't mean that there is a deadlock. There may be a deadlock. There need not be a deadlock. Why there is? There may be. There need not be a deadlock. So let's look at the first one. So we start from this one. So if you look at this one, so what happens in this case? Is there a deadlock? The answer is yes. In this case, there is a deadlock. Why? P1 is waiting for R2, R1. R1 is there with the P2. P2 is waiting for R3. R3 is there with the P3. P3 is waiting for R2. R2, if you remove this one, R2 is already there with P1. So this cycle, if you take this cycle, this is a perfect deadlock. Okay, what about this one? So P2 is making a request to R3. R3 is making a R3 is already given to P3. P3 is making a request to R2. Now this there is a deadlock. However, just to give you, there is a deadlock naturally. Suppose if P1 releases it, suppose ignore all these things. Suppose if P1 was using, ignore these, assume that this is not there. Suppose P1 releases it. P1 has nothing to do with P3. Suppose let's say P1 releases it. In that case, what will happen? In that case, this will be allotted to P3 and there won't be any deadlock. Okay, so P3 is not waiting for P2. Okay, so there can be there need not be a deadlock. So remember, if there is a cycle, that does not mean that there is a deadlock. In this case, both of them have the deadlock. Now let's look at this one scenario wherein when you look at it, you may see that there may be a deadlock. So let's look at this one. P1 is making a request to R1. R1 is already there with the P3 as well as P2. Okay, let's say P3 is P3 is making a request to R2 is already there with the P1. So if you look at this one, this is a deadlock. Okay, however, there are two instances are there. Two things can happen. What are the two things that can happen? The two things that can happen over here is P2 may complete it. After half an hour, P2 may say that my part is over. When the P2 is over, this resource can be given to P1. Okay, so this cycle is broken. You don't have the deadlock. You don't have a cycle here. Okay, this edge is taken out. Same way, P3 is waiting for R2. If after 15 minutes P4 says that my part is over, then this can be given to P2 and this request edge will go. In that case, again, you don't have the cycle. Remember, when a request is given, it is the arrow is from the resource to the process. It is not the other way around. So this way the resource can be avoided. So this is what I've shown you in the graph. Okay, a few things about it. If there is exactly one instance of the resources, so what is the meaning of it is you have processes, you have the resources. So you have only one instance of the resource. You have two processors over here. So this is making a request and this is already granted. This is making a request and this resource is already granted. Remember, only one instance is there. Then if there is only one instance and if there is a cycle, then there is a deadlock. If there is only one instance and there is a cycle, then there is a deadlock. So there is no doubt about it. Okay, so if there is only one instance, exactly one instance, then a cycle in the graph is both necessary and sufficient condition. So if there is a cycle, cycle is definitely required. Without cycle, you don't get the deadlock. If there is one instance, it is sufficient, necessary and sufficient for a deadlock. What about if there are multiple instances are there? If there is a multiple instances are there, again cycle is necessary. If more than one instance are there, cycles are necessary. So for example, again, you have one resource process here, you have one request the resource here, you have other process here, you have one other resource here. This is making a request, it is making use of one resource, it is making a request, this is making use of one of the resource. There are other resources are available. If there are other resources are available, they can be granted. Okay, if there are two printers are there, one printer is in use, second printers can be given. Okay, understood? So there are two disks are there, one disk is already in use, second disk can be given to the process. Then it is not waiting, it got the resource, it will continue on its own. So if there are if there are multiple resources are there, then remember there must be a cycle. Without cycle, you don't get a deadlock. It is necessary, but it is not sufficient condition for the deadlock to occur. That's all in this session. If you want to know more about it, please refer the Galvin's book. Thank you for your interest.